Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? Episode number 412, Drinking Till You podcast, the only podcast that lasts until the last drop. How the hell is your Sunday going? How the hell was your week? Hope everybody's okay. I hope you're safe out there. I'm just sipping on my 100 proof rum. I poured over some ice here. So that's what I'm having for the episode. If you got them, drink them. Bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Yeah, some UFC last night, which it got wacky, dude. Just look, if I didn't hashtag my tweets UFC, you would have had no clue I was even watching UFC. Been watching a little bit of hockey, a lot less hockey this last week, just for the fact that I've been really into Tulsa King, which is cool. Like I'm loving the show. I'm just starting to get a little. I just got to season 3, but I'm just starting to get a little bored with it, to be honest. It's kind of like the same problem I had with Dexter back when I tried to watch that through. There's no way I could. How many seasons of that did they have? There's like 6 seasons of Dexter, probably even more. Who knows? But it was the same episode every episode. That's why I couldn't do it anymore. You know, he sees someone doing something bad or hears of someone doing something bad, he kills them. You know, it's like this same thing over and over. I'm just like, okay, I get it. This is not interesting. Like, just to keep doing the same thing, like it's got to change up somehow. I don't feel like they did that. I probably got 2 seasons through. Maybe if I would have stuck it out a little bit longer, it might have got better. Who knows? But I'm kind of running into that with the Tulsa King now. It's Dwight Manfredi versus mob boss or drug kingpin, or, like, that's just what it is. Like, every couple of episodes, it's like, how are they going to take out this, high-level boss so they can take over the territory? I mean, it's cool. But it's starting to get to the point of, all right, like what's gonna be new here? Like, and spoiler alert, I mean they're still here, so they keep winning all of these battles. So it's like at some point, and people have got hurt along the way. They had me scared at one point. One of the characters, Tyson, which is the first person Dwight Manfredi meets when he goes to Tulsa, he picks him up from the airport. So he's kind of been like his second-hand man since he's been there. But you kind of get into the story of Tyson's dad. And his dad's just a good, hardworking man. You know what I mean? Like, he's a plumber. That's what his trade is. And that's what he does. That's how he pays the bills. That's how he's raised Tyson. He goes to work every day. He doesn't complain. That kind of guy. But there was a portion of the show where I thought they killed him off. And luckily they didn't. I'm giving all kinds of spoilers, but yeah, it's getting a little redundant is what I'm trying to say. So I have been watching a lot more of that than I have the hockeys. I do know my Stars are on a 2-game skid, losing to Minnesota pretty bad, 5-2, and then losing to... Did we lose to the Panthers 5-2 last night? I don't know, but it wasn't good. We didn't win either way. But I'm not upset about it. It is what it is. You're gonna go through and everything we've gone through to this point with our injuries and everything. Like we're doing okay. Like I'm not not gonna get down about a couple of bad losses. I have preferred those losses be 1-0. Yes, of course, just for the goalie's save percentage. But it's all good. We'll bounce back. We'll be okay. We'll get some healthy guys back. Yeah, we'll be all right. I mean, everything said, the top team in the NHL right now is the Avalanche, and we're like, we might be a little further behind them today, looking at the standings, but we're right there. We're neck and neck, and they've only had 2 regulation losses this entire season so far. So we're doing something right. We're cooking. You're not going to win every game. I wish it could have been. We could have lost by less, but it is what it is. Florida just lost, a couple of nights ago. Who did they lose to? I think it was Minnesota. No, it was the Avalanche. That's what it was. Yeah, the Avalanche went there and beat them. So, yeah, getting a taste of our division, man. Our division is tough. Everybody wants to play us well, but we also play everybody well. So, yeah, Stars are going to be okay. It's all good. What else? Oh, yeah, the UFC, dude. Okay, so just the tweets. I'm going to read it without the hashtag. This is where it started. This is for a guy named Asplund, by the way. Did that man just grab his nipples and flap his used-to-be 500-pound titties in a celebratory fashion while being announced in UFC? That was a tweet. I actually didn't know. Yeah, I did put UFC. I just didn't hashtag it. And then the next one, if I didn't hashtag it, just says, grab your nips, Asplund wins. And then the tweet after that, if I didn't hashtag it UFC, the Dalmatian lifted his leg and marked his territory. Obviously, hashtag UFC. But that was, what's that guy's name? Cape? Costa. Jesus. I wouldn't even be close. Costa versus Cherie. Costa, being the Dalmatian, ended that fight with a kick to the head. So obviously, I'm just having fun with it, okay? The Dalmatian lifted his leg and marked his territory. Hashtag UFC. I don't know why I'm so dumb. Sometimes I just am. I can't help it. It's just the way I was born. What else? But yeah, the larger conversation that needs to happen is the man that grabs his nipples and flaps his used-to-be 500-pound titties. And I heard him talk Asplund. And I heard him talk about it after the fight. And it's like a body positivity kind of thing, which is cool. Like, I like that. That was basically what and he was kind of talking to younger kids too. Don't let anybody make you feel ashamed about your body or yourself. Be confident. He's like, I've lost a bunch of weight, through doing mixed martial arts, and I look at me, it's like I look weird, or I look ugly, or so. I forgot how he phrased it. And then some of the crowd was like, no, you don't. No, that's bullshit. No, you don't. And, but yeah, that was his whole spiel was, body positivity. It's just a weird way. You have to admit, it's an odd way to promote body. This dude's like bullying himself. You know what I mean? You ever been in a fight with someone who bullies themselves? You ain't winning that fight, man. Like, there's nothing you can do to him that's going to be meaner to him than what he already does. It reminds me of the movie Liar, Liar, where Jim Carrey's character, he's trying to get out of going back to court because he can't lie. That's the curse that's, happened in the movie to him. As a lawyer, I mean, you gotta kind of, bend the truth a little bit, or dance around certain things if you're in that situation. But so he goes into the bathroom and he's thinking, if I get mugged, like I get beat up, then they won't make me continue. They'll be like, oh my God, just take a break for today and we'll come back tomorrow, whatever. And so he can kind of figure stuff out. So he goes to the bathroom and just starts like ramming his face into things in the bathroom and like punching himself. And at one point he does grab his own nipples and like gives himself the titty twister. And so some random guy comes in the bathroom. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And Jim Carrey's character, he's like, I'm kicking my ass. Do you mind? Like, it's basically what I guess Asplin's theory is. You can't do shit to me. I've already done it to myself. You can kick my ass? You can. I've already kicked my own ass. Like, I don't know. I like the message. 10 out of 10 on the message. 1 out of 10 on promoting it. Like, he's got to get some better, How about you just talk about it? How about you don't have to attribute a physical act to it? It was just odd, man. I've never seen that before, so I don't know if I already said this, but yeah, they were showing before the fight. I mean, you just as a viewer, dude, you have no context when things like this happen. So I'm just sitting there fucking watching, eating my bowl of ice cream, whatever I was eating. I don't know. Probably something, dude, it's like every fight day you have to have like chicken with hot sauce and ranch. It's just, in whatever form that is to you, it just goes the best with people punching each other and kicking each other in the face. For some reason, I can't explain it. But just me sitting there with my plate of food. And they're, teasing the upcoming fight with Asplund. And, it's a heavyweight bout. And they're going over the other guy's backstory and, some recent wins that he's had. And then they get to Asplund and they show him most recent win that he had. And they announce his name. And he does the move, dude. He grabs his nipples and shakes his extra titty skin. Dude. It's just funny how things like this live in your head, because ever since that happened last night, it's been in my head. Like, how am I gonna go on the podcast and describe what this man did on TV in front of the world? I don't know. It was weird, but he did get the victory. And like I said, I do like the message, so that's cool. Let's go ahead and have another drink. Cheers. All right, what else? I didn't even go over the fights, just the shocking moments. Oh yeah, that was their last UFC on ESPN. I guess it's moving over to Paramount Plus. So that's cool. I actually have Paramount Plus just as a benefit to something I've subscribed to. But anyways, so yeah, what else? Oh yeah, I watched this movie, this John Wayne movie. It's called The Searchers, and it's centered around kind of the thing I became obsessed with in the most recent years, which is the Comanche and Quanah Parker, who was Cynthia Ann Parker's son, and Quanah was the last chief of the Comanche. But basically, this it was a weird movie. It was interesting. I don't know how to feel about it. It's like they couldn't decide what kind of movie it was while they were making it. So you get all these weird things of like what happens in the movie, what causes the drama is just terrible. Like, the Comanche came in and basically like ransacked the fort. It was Fort Parker, and killed almost everybody and made off with the younger girls to like have them become a part of their Comanche culture. So it's dealing with like a really dark theme, and they do show that in the movie. The one thing I didn't like, though, was they depicted when the raid happened and the Comanche came in and killed everybody and took the girls. It depicted it as just a cabin, just kind of in the middle of nowhere, which wasn't technically true. It was more of a fort, and just from what I know about it, they they happened to leave the gate open that day, which is super unwise. Obviously, there were natives around at that time that could just come in if you leave the gate open. But the day they got raided, they just happened to leave, the fort gates open, and that's what allowed the Comanche in and to do all the horrible things and steal from them, blah, blah, blah. And so they depicted that a little different, It kind of made it look like less of a stupid choice by the, go lucky white people in the movie. They were just living their lives, and that's kind of how they depicted it, which is typical, I think, of movies made back then. Brown man bad, white man good kind of thing. But I'm not saying the Comanche weren't absolutely brutal. They were, and they were feared by so many other tribes for their brutality. But but yeah, they just depicted that a little different. It wasn't that they were just living in la-di-da and then Comanche came and messed with them. It's they made a mistake of leaving the fort doors open, and then Comanche got in and everything else happened. So basically, John Wayne's character is one of the girls that got taken in real life. Her name was Cynthia Ann Parker, mother of Quanah Parker, as I mentioned a minute ago. But John Wayne plays the character in the movies called Uncle Ethan, but it's actually James Parker, Cynthia Ann's uncle, who basically goes for the next, 5 to 7 years searching for her. He thinks she's still alive. He wants to get her back. And that's what he does. Basically, in the movie, with the help of Cynthia Ann's, quote, brother. He wasn't blood, but he was adopted into the family, and he always looked to her as a sister. So, yeah, John Wayne's character, Uncle Ethan, and, Cynthia's non-blood brother basically go for 5 years looking for them. And, yeah, dude, it's just an interesting time that kind of how the story fit. They did a good job fitting the story together. It was just, there's just certain things. Like I said, they Disney-fied it in a couple of ways. You know what I mean? But yeah, they dealing with something tragic, real that did happen. But there's other parts where they're like being funny during a shootout. I don't know, dude. It was interesting. So. And I was honestly surprised. I saw it through. I watched it the whole way through. They stuck with the story. Basically, what happened in real life was they got Cynthia Ann Parker back eventually. But she was already, this was years and years later. She had lived with the Comanche for so long that she was just Comanche. Like no matter what they did, they try to put her in dresses and, show her, I guess, for lack of a better word, the sophisticated life, you know what I mean? And she just doesn't take to it. But the reason being, she's lived with the Comanche so long, she had children, with them, one of them. And multiple children, 3 or 4 different children. So this isn't her life anymore, living in a house and sitting by the fireplace, reading stories at night or whatever, whatever they did back then. That's not her anymore. She's just accustomed to roaming the plains and, whatever their culture dictated, really. So they did stick true to that in the movie, which I thought was kind of cool. But it was a mess. It was all over the place. And it was really strange because I didn't really understand this part of the movie, but there was one part where Uncle Ethan and Cynthia Ann's brother are out looking, and they find her, and they kind of get away with her for a little bit before the Comanche notice, and they're like, "Hey, don't you remember me? Blah, blah, all this and that." And she's like, "No," and, kind of speaking their native language. She's not even speaking English anymore. So John Wayne's character, Uncle Ethan, notices this, and he's ready to put a bullet in her head. He's ready to kill her. The only reason he didn't was because her brother stood in the way of him shooting her. And then this is when the Comanche realizes she's gone. A big chase happens. The Comanche gets Cynthia Ann Parker back, and the men keep trailing them to get her back. But he wanted to kill her, and then at the end of the movie, John Wayne's character, he actually gets Cynthia Ann Parker, and this is where she's coming back to like society, civilized, whatever, the Americas. And it was just weird because it's like he was ready to kill her in one scene, and then later in the movie when all the action's happening and they're going to get her again, it's like that's what you're thinking. He's going to shoot her and kill her just to, quote, in his words, put her out of her misery. Because that's what they think, is like, that's no way to live. Being a savage is no way to live. You might as well, if, you knew this life before and now this is what you think life should be, you don't get it. You're not living right. You're not, whatever. I'll put you out of your misery because you're just like an animal, basically, is how they were viewed. But then, yeah, he gets to be the hero at the end after attempted murder. He's the one that carries her into the cabin of some family that they have. Because remember, like, her mom and her dad, all those people, they're fucking dead. Like, that happened when the Parker Fort got raided. So the house that John Wayne's character takes her to is, other relatives, probably aunts and uncles and stuff. But John Wayne's the one who carries her through the door. He's got her under the legs, he's got her under the back, and he carries her over the threshold. Everybody's happy to see her, and that's kind of where the movie ends. It's like, it's just weird, dude. And like, they tried to make it funny at a lot of points in time. It was interesting. I don't know. But would I watch it again? I might watch it again. Just kind of with new eyes, going into it knowing it's not as serious as, kind of knowing they're being silly with it a little bit. I mean, there's one point in the movie where they're having a shootout with the Comanche, and John Wayne's group get across the river, and they kind of hunker down, behind some rocks, behind some large logs, so they can have this big shootout. And one of the extras in the movie just absolutely like got trampled by one of the horses. It was crazy. Like, they left that shit in the movie. It was pretty wild, but there's no way. So that, like, basically the scene it happens in is John Wayne's party. They kind of fight off the Comanche. The Comanche are trying to cross the river to get to him so they can kill him, but the guys on the other side with their rifles hunkered down, kind of protected in a way. They're just kind of picking him off, so the Comanche decide to go back, and when they're going back, they're still picking him off, and one of the guys falls off his horse. His horse runs away, but there's another guy on the horse, and he's, kind of getting out of there, and his horse tramples the dude in the water. It was like a brief second. I was like, holy shit. I saw that, though. Kind of reminds me of Braveheart. There's a scene where there's like one of those big battles, and you can totally see two of the extras fighting. They're like goofing off. They're like having fun with it. You can tell. I forget which, but yeah, it's one of those big battle scenes. But it's just kind of funny how stuff like that gets left in. It's like, shit, if the dude already got hurt because of it, you might as well leave it in, because that's something, it adds like a layer of realism to it. Even though the story was, if you didn't know the story of Quanah Parker and like Fort Parker, you would be lost in this movie. You might just be like, what the fuck is it? Are we happy or are we sad? You know what I mean? Like, we're sad because they took like the two youngest girls, right? We hope they're still alive. Yeah, it was just interesting. And, John Wayne always has the answers. There's kind of one guy in the movie who was becoming the leader. He was trying to be the leader. And John Wayne's just like, if this doesn't work out, I won't ever listen to you again, basically. And for some reason, it didn't work out. So John Wayne's the man. Everybody's following his lead. He's going, regardless of if you're going. It was interesting. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I like it for its badness, if that makes sense. I don't know, but I'm torn too. I say badness, but they depicted this story pretty well. I mean, they didn't shun away or shy away from, the gruesome part of it. They came back to the fort after traveling, and it was all burnt down. Everybody was dead. Yeah, it was. But, I guess that's how life was. Shit, what are you going to sit and be sad the rest of the time? You have to dance and have some drinks at some point, which was totally a scene in the movie. They're like, I guess, trying to give you a sense of the times and how people... And see, I missed the good time to, become a dancer. That was my era, back in the old Western days. You know what I mean? That's the time I would have ever danced if I were ever going to dance in my life. It'd have to be way back then because it was, coordinated. I mean, what were you doing? You were just, hooking each other around the arm, doing a couple of steps, and then turning around and hooking each other around the arm, I can do that. I can dance that way. If you ask me to independently dance, it's over. I'm not doing that shit. Not gonna happen. But it actually did kind of look like a good time too, it gave that sense of you don't know what tomorrow's gonna bring, you might as well celebrate today and enjoy today and dance and drink and be merry, as they say. What else? I saw this. I thought this was kind of cool. We'll end here. I came across these two stories about two bands that I like, System of a Down and NoFX. Basically, the way System of a Down became a band was a double booked studio time. Serge, the vocalist, had his own band. Darren, the guitar player of System of a Down, now had his own band, and their separate bands were booked on the same date. They showed up, they kind of started talking, what are we going to do? And I guess that's where the creative juices started flowing, and they dropped their previous bands and became System of a Down. I thought that was kind of cool. And the name started from a name that Darren, the guitar player, had in his phone. I guess he was thinking of a name called Victims of a Down, and eventually it turned to System of a Down. So that was kind of cool. This NoFX one is pretty neat too. So El Jefe is the guitar player for NoFX, and he had a pedal that was stolen in 1993. And I think it was, in 2023, the guy who stole it sent it back to NoFX and wrote an apology note. Some 30 years later. And there's a video of it, and El Jefe is like, that's my fucking pedal, that's my fucking, you motherfucker. It was cussing the camera out, knowing the guy's going to see the footage of them getting the pedal that he's been missing for 30 years back. I just thought that was kind of cool. Should the guy have stole the pedal? Of course, no. But it kind of made for a cool story. That guy held onto that pedal for so many years and finally sent. I wonder if the guy that stole it was a guitar player and he used it. That would be even more cool. I'll give you a little piece of, well, I don't know if it's still there, but it was once upon a time, a little piece of the Dallas music history, just from my perspective, a tiny, tiny little piece that is there. I basically let, sorry to call you out if you're listening, James, but I let James borrow my Ibanez guitar, and it wasn't an expensive one. It was one of those ones that comes with the amp and the strap and the cord, so you can start playing day one. That kind of Ibanez, you know what I mean? But I let him borrow it as a backup, for his guitar at the show we were going to play at the Liquid Lounge. And he left it there. And we'd been in a band for a couple of months before, And about 6 months later, after that show, I start thinking about that guitar. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen that red Ibanez in a long time. Do you know where it is? And so we start racking our brains. We start asking the other members, and we come to the conclusion, shit, we left it at the Liquid Lounge. So just randomly one night, I'm just bar hopping down there, and I stumble into the Liquid Lounge, and I'm having a drink. I'm watching the band playing up on the stage. I don't know who it is. You know, there's not a lot of people there. But I look behind the bar, and there is my red Ibanez. And I was like, I started chatting up the bartender. I'm like, where did you get that guitar from? And luckily, she had worked there for a long-ass time. And she was like, somebody left it here once upon a time, and I saw there was a signature on there. I was like, who signed it? And she pulled out a picture, and she was like, it was this lady. She came through. She was on a tour. She played here, and we wanted her to sign something and leave it here. You know, it was such a great night, whatever. So we looked through the storage closet. There was this extra red Ibanez guitar. We pulled it out. She signed it. We put it back behind the bar. It's been there ever since. I was like, no fucking way. That is so cool. And this is like I said, we figured out that he left it probably 6 months after, he left it. But I mean, 4 years had passed by. Something like that. 3 or 4 years had passed by since I just gave up on it. I was like, I don't give a shit. Whatever. It was a cheapy one. I'll get another one. No big deal, whatever. And totally forgot about it until I saw it behind the bar a few years later. And so she was like, the bartender was like, do you want it back? I was like, fuck no, I don't want it back. I was like, leave it up there. That's cool as hell. I'm telling all my friends, go check out my guitar back there, signed by, I can't remember the lady's name now, signed by so-and-so. But, yeah, so anyways, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for listening. Let's finish these off. Cheers, everybody. All my ice is about melted. As always, don't drink and drive. Treat yourself to an Uber. Treat yourself to a Lyft. Treat yourself to a DoorDash, an Uber Eats, a Waymo if it's in your area. 2026 is coming up on us in DFW. Waymo's going to be here. I'm definitely grabbing a Waymo. Get my ass down to the double wide. I'm going to have a couple of delicious adult beverages and Waymo my ass back to my house. And it's going to be great. But anyways, I will talk to you all next week. I love you all. Be safe out there. Bye.